Welcome back to Completing Football Manager 2024. My name is Anders and we are on to our 7th nation in this series. This is obviously the series where we're going around every single playable nation, all 54 of them, and attempting to win the National League in each of them. We've completed Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Gibraltar and Wales, and now we are off to Northern Ireland as we've been approached by Ballymena United to become their new manager. We've had to wait a couple of months. I say a couple of months, about 8, because it's now December of 2037 and we are being unveiled as the new manager of Ballymena United. And if you're enjoying this series, why haven't you already subscribed? Please make sure you do. Like this video, check out the rest of the other 6 nations that we've already done. Not the 6 nations, that's rugby, this is Football Manager, but obviously we're in Ireland, so that can kind of work. Anyway, check out all the other videos, subscribe here on the channel, get notifications on so you don't miss the next nation once you've watched this one, and settle in as we go to Northern Ireland and attempt to win our 7th nation of the game. Is that correct? I think that's correct. I think we're into number 7 now. If we go through, 1, 2, 3, 4... and then 2 in Europe. 4 in Asia, 2 in Europe so far. That's great. So we've got Northern Ireland today. We're going to hopefully get through this one a bit quicker than we did in Wales. But looking at where we've joined, probably not, because we're joining relegation battling Ballymena United, who are 16 games into the season and struggling. If we look at the structure here in Northern Ireland, it's kind of similar to the structure in Wales, apart from we play everyone 3 times and then split into a half and half and do the last 5 games rather than playing everyone twice and splitting half and half and doing 10 games. That makes sense. So we'll probably end up in the relegation group. I think you keep the points that you started with. You don't lose. I don't think you go half and half or anything like that, like you do in places like Belgium. But I mean, that could be quite easily checked by checking here. And everyone's got sensible looking points, which they kind of do. So that you can see where we finished last year, 8th. We can try and get anywhere near that, but looking at the league table, I mean, it's not too far. 5 points up will get us to 8th, so that's attainable. A further 3, 7th, and I mean, maybe 9 points. Is that, or is that? I can't count. 9 points out from 6th place and the championship group. That is a bit of a strong target, but avoiding relegation is obviously the first one. And this is the squad that we've got, and it's not very big. That's not a big squad at all. So we're going to have to try and strengthen this one as we go through. I mean, looking at the star ratings, lots of good players, but we know star ratings are tricky and don't always tell you the truth. We have done a video on star ratings in the past, both here on my channel and over on Sort It Out SI as well. But looking at the squad, in fact, we'll just click here. Chris Murray is our key player. 20-year-old left winger, can play anywhere in midfield. Looks rather handy, actually. Good dribbling, technique, good physicals. 6'3", 12 stone, 8 pounds. I mean, he looks like he could be a good player for this level. Caveat, obviously. But that's what we do here. And our young hot prospect to keep an eye on is Jim Boyd. Good old Jim, 17-year-old defender. We'll keep an eye on him. But that's kind of where we are as we're joining in Northern Ireland. Looking at the squad at a high level, it looks like we've got 2 strikers, one from the Faroe Islands, one from Iceland. Everyone else looks like they are Northern Irish. 1 goalkeeper, probably a problem. The midfield looks very wing-heavy. I'm not sure what tactic we're going to go for yet, but it might be something similar to the 4-2-4 we had at Glasses United in Gibraltar. Potentially with a couple of wingers, a couple of strikers. We'll see how the rest of the midfield can shape out. But looks like we've got a couple of, I say, 3 or 4 good defenders as well. Maybe, yeah, we could probably get a flat back 4 and then do something adventurous going forward. Anyway, we'll catch that up as we get into the first review of the season. And looking at the schedule, I mean, we are, I think, 3 games out from the halfway point, so I probably won't come back in 3 games' time. Maybe after the January. In fact, no, that's quite... There's what, 6 games, 5 games there, plus another 5, 10 games. We might just come back at the end of the season, because let's be honest, the only main thing we're going to be doing here is avoiding that relegation. So that's what we'll do. We'll play through the rest of the first season here. We're kind of at the halfway point already. Got a bit of a challenge on our hands, but it should be attainable to turn this ship around and avoid relegation, then look towards getting into Europe and then winning the league. It might be another 2.5 seasons, 3 season kind of job here, but we'll see. And hopefully, Northern Ireland's a little bit easier to conquer than Wales. Looking at the past winners, Linfield, Dungannon are up there. Linfield having a bit of a poor start to this season, so maybe there is an opportunity to turn the squad around and get things going quite quickly. But we'll see. Let's carry on and play the first season here in Northern Ireland. I'm completing Football Manager. First season is in the books in Northern Ireland, and as you can see here, that we've done actually quite well. Probably as well as we could hope for. Obviously stayed in the relegation group because we managed to, we started so far behind. But given the last 5 fixtures were against teams in and around us, we've ended up finishing in 7th place with more points than 6th place Glentoran, and therefore got into the European Places playoffs, which we lost quite handedly in the semi-finals to Linfield, who in the end went and got that final place in the Conference League. So it was as good as could be expected. So 7th place is a good start. I'll give it that much. 7th place is a good start. Looking around the very small squad, it's Janus Danielsson, who is the Faroese dragon, I guess, because he's not going to be an American dragon from the Faroe Islands. He's got the most goals, 15 in his 30 starts, 39 appearances overall. Obviously, I think most of them came with us, with me in charge. So, there we go. Best player is new signing Zach Mercer, who we brought in on a free to bolster our striking ranks. He got 6 in 10, so if he'd been here the whole season, he would have eclipsed Danielson's goal scoring for the season. Anyway, assist-wise, no one got more than McMenemy with 7 assists, so he is a 24-year-old right midfielder. Speaking of the squad, it's quite small, obviously. Quite a few non-contracts, and everyone else is sort of expiring at the end of this season. So it's going to be a bit of a refresh because we've got no money and quite a few players want to leave for bigger clubs. So there you go. A few movements that I've made since joining. Mark Nimick came in on loan from Linfield, and he's joining us permanently at the beginning of July, at the end of his contract. He's joined as midfield. I'm not even touched on the formation yet, which I will do in a second. We did also, as I mentioned, get 2 free transfers. One from Bury in Zach Mercer, English striker. He looks pretty good and has already made a really good impact. 4 in 8 in the league, 2 in 2 in the cup. And then Kieran Doherty is a centre-back who's joined us to lead our defensive line. He was formerly at the Crusaders, but he's joined us on a free transfer in January. So he's immediately got into our best 11 as well with his performances in the second half of the season. Right, tactic-wise, ignore the red because obviously we've just gone into post-season anyway, whatever. We finished the season. This is our best 11, and we've got a bit of a strange asymmetric 4-4-2-ish kind of 4-3-3. Who knows really? But our right winger is a right midfielder, and our left winger is a winger. If that makes sense. So they're sort of shifted asymmetrically like that. 2 strikers, an attacking midfielder, and a central midfielder. So it would have kind of been a diamond potentially if we'd have played slightly different. It's a diamond. It's more of a rhombus in midfield, I'd say. It's a rhombus midfield. That's what we'll go with. We call it Ballyball anyway, because we're Ballymena. So there we go. Otherwise, flat back 4, 2 strikers, rhombus midfield. Good? Yeah, that sounds good. Best player on paper is now looking like Zach Mercer. If you look on the club info, he should be our key player. He is. But yes, we've done okay. Competition-wise, we're only in one other competition. We've been knocked out of the other 2 before I joined, and we got all the way through to the quarter-finals in the Irish Cup. Right, bit of a review of what we've done since joining. So Glenavon was our first game, and we won that 4-1. We then went on a bit of a poor run against some better sides, obviously. Dungannon, Larne, Crusaders all in the top half. Crusaders beat us 7-2, though, which was a little bit of a wake-up call, and it kind of made me refresh what we were doing tactically. I mean, we went to the rhombus rather than having I think we started out with a 4-1-3-2. But we dropped down to a rhombus in midfield, and that kind of helped a little bit. And then we were kind of feast or famine from that point on. Good run of games here, few defeats, run of games, few defeats, run of games, sort of back and forth quite a bit. And then when we started into the relegation group, we won 4 of our 5 games. Glenavon, the only game we lost, kind of a bit of a goal fest to end the season. We lost 5-3 in the penultimate game, and then beat rivals Coleraine 5-4 in the final fixture to put ourselves into 7th place, with Saladin Haddadi getting a hat-trick on the final day. They came back with a late consolation goal, or a couple of late consolation goals, to make it look much tighter than it actually was. But on paper, looked really tight anyway. So 5-4 on that line at last day. Obviously, we lost in the semi-final of the European Places playoff. Obviously, that was a fixture we were not expecting to get anything from, and we didn't, so unsurprising there. Next season, as mentioned, a lot of this squad is on an expiring contract, so it's going to be fun trying to keep them, and hopefully... we've had a new wage budget, which we're already spending all of, so good. We're going to struggle to keep everyone happy, and we're probably going to have to sign a lot of free transfers to rebuild the squad as we go through. But yeah, that's the challenge. Next season, I'm hoping to finish in the top half. That's probably as far as I'm willing to go, is to, we could have finished 6th this time around, but I think if we'd have got into the championship group, which we were quite far from, to be honest, I think we would have struggled and would have finished with less points than Glentoran in 6th place, because the other sides, they're better than us. Potentially, obviously, is the option of skipping to a different club, which we'll have a quick look at now. Obviously, we need to stay in Northern Ireland now, not South Africa. But there's Coleraine job. I mean, we've finished better than them. Derview, again, we were better than them as well. So no clubs at the moment above us are looking for new managers. So that's not something we'll be doing right away, but somewhere with some money would be good. That's all I'll say after season number 1. I'm looking forward to getting into nations where having a negative bank balance isn't the norm. I kind of enjoyed it in Wales because we got loads of money from playing European football, and obviously, if that starts happening here, we're getting $1 million a season for just turning up in the Conference League, will be great, but we're a bit of the way off of that so far. But it's been so far so pretty good, to be fair, in the starting out here in Northern Ireland. From our 26 games in charge, we've won 13 of them, drawn 1, lost 12. So very much feast or famine, not famine, whatever that is. Interesting to note, 50% win percentage, as you'd expect, which is below our career average of 63. But we have surpassed 500 games now. But there we go. We'll be off to the pre-season now and have a little retreat over the summer, do some transfers, and be back at the start of the season, which is in the beginning of August. That's where we'll be for next season. So we'll have 2.5 months. Try and rebuild the squad. Try and be better for our second attempt at the NIFL Premiership, the Sports Direct Premiership. Right, Ballymena, here we go. Season number 2 coming right up. Alright then, pre-season is in the books and we are ready to kick off our first full campaign here in Northern Ireland. It's the 31st of July 2038 for those keeping count. And we've had, I think, a productive summer. I'm quietly confident we'll get into the top 6 at least. So, there is that one. I think maybe on the edges of European qualification. We'll definitely be in the playoffs. Whether we get automatic European qualification or not is probably a step too far, but maybe like 5th or 4th at a push is where we're going to be aiming for. Anyway, right, let's have a look at what we've done over the summer. Now, importantly to note, we've gone from the rhombus back up to the 3 across the attacking midfield line, mainly because we wanted to utilise Chris Murray on the right rather than the left, because we've got 2 really good left wingers and not really got anyone on the right hand side. Anyway, over the summer we've made a few transfers, and if we go to the right place, I think this is the guy. Did I mention him last time or not? Anyway, James Logue, or Logue, I'm going to go with, has come in on a free from Derry City. I think it was a free, yes. So he's come back to the north from Derry City on a free. He is, surprisingly, despite looking really good, second best striker in the squad. We've got Englishman Zach Mercer, who is going to be slightly better than him. But they've both got finishing of 15, so I'm hoping for lots of goals, which is kind of why I'm a bit confident going into this season. So we've got Mercer and Logue up top. Refreshed our striking ranks completely, and they're both really good and very much an improvement on the guys who we had in before. Obviously, Danielson, the Faroese dragon, has gone back to the Faroe Islands, so that's important to note. I say gone back. He's always been in Northern Ireland since the year dot, but he's gone to HB in the Faroe Islands now, so goodbye to him. Anyway, the rest of the transfers, we made 3 more free transfers from around the... there's one from Crusaders, Dwayne Irvin, left back. Very much an improvement on Murphy and Bredner, who were there beforehand. He's looking like a really good, handy defender, so I'm improving our defence in that way. We mentioned Mark Nimick was coming in permanently after his loan spell last season. Made 12 appearances on loan, got a good average rating, 7.19 overall, 12 in the league, 2 in the cup. So a couple of goals as well. So he has joined us permanently. And then Neil Kay, a new goalkeeper, very much an improvement on club captain Magilton. I'm hoping that having this improvement going forward and improvement at the back kind of hopefully strengthens our overall performance. A few guys have left, but we won't touch on them because they're no longer with us. This is the squad we have going into the season. We've already touched on Mercer and Logue and Kay and Irvin. The only other guy up there who is of the same sort of quality as the guys we brought in is Chris Murray, who was our star player when I joined. He's obviously a left winger, but we've got McCarthy, who can also play on the left, who's really good. We're kind of struggling on the right wing, so I'm training him up. If we go to his training here, we're training him up on the right wing, trying to basically bolster his performance there. He is our best right winger anyway, but I kind of want him, focusing on playing down the right flank, so he is going to be across there. The only people worth noting so Irvin should really be left back, but Murphy, who would be centre back, he's suspended for the first game of the season, so he's dropping into centre back, and Bredner is coming in on the left back. But otherwise, it's full strength starting 11 for the first game of the season. You can see the new guys coming in. Obviously, Doherty was new for us last season. Nimick, Logue, Mercer, Irvin, Kay. You get the impression that we've made a bit of an improvement to the squad. We've gone from the rhombus, which I'm disappointed about. I like the rhombus, back to a more standard 4-1-3-2. Hopefully Ballyball is successful this season. We're going to start out with a couple of pretty straightforward fixtures against Portadown and Loughgall. Obviously newly promoted Loughgall. And then we've got Dungannon, which will be the first real test. Quickly followed by Linfield. And then we've got Crusaders as well quite early on in the season. So it could be quite quick to know whether we are actually going to be in the top half or not. Season preview, I think, has us up in 5th. 5th. There we go. So which is good. And that's kind of where I'm expecting us to finish, in and around Glentoran and Larne, rather than up with Crusaders, Dungannon and Linfield. But we shall see. Hopefully the new striking partnership comes to the fore and we start really doing well in the season to come. Right, that's the preview. We'll be back at the halfway stage where we're hopefully doing pretty well and looking like we might actually complete Northern Ireland in less than 3 seasons. Right, see you in a second. Let's go. Halfway point of the season, and obviously not everyone has played the same number of games, but we are, as hoped and predicted, I guess, in the top half, just about, with 3 points clear of Glentoran in 6th and Crusaders also in 7th, a further point back to Glenavon in 8th. They kind of are the only ones that are going to challenge us, maybe Coleraine in 9th. Looking above us, though, the top 4 look pretty clear. I doubt we're going to catch Cliftonville, although we've got a game in hand. We could, in theory, be just 3 points behind them. But when you look at who our game in hand is against, it's Dungannon, who have got 3 games in hand. And we're going to play them twice in about a week, I think, at some point in the season. Yeah, so we play them here on the 12th and then again on the 21st. So, okay, not quite a week. But we do play them back-to-back in the league. And they're going to beat us in both of them. So the table is looking more promising than it should be. Is kind of where I'm hinting towards. Probably 5th, 6th, 7th is where we're going to end up. One of those places. Hopefully not 7th, though. But if we do end up 7th again, we can sort of potentially maybe win the second group, the relegation group, and get back into the playoffs for Europe, and potentially we'll be stronger than we were last season. But I'd see it as a bit of a backward step if we ended up 7th this time around. Definitely need to be in the top half. 5th or 6th, I'd expect Crusaders to be the other one in the top 5 or 6 with us. So they're our main challenge. We've got them again soon, I'm sure. Well, we've got everyone again soon because we've still got another round of fixtures to play. But we've got Glenavon in the next game. They're in 8th. Then we've got Coleraine. So we win those two, we could really put a bit of distance between ourselves and the bottom 5, which would be good. Then we've got the nice couple of runs of Loughgall and Portadown. Then that Dungannon doubleheader, Linfield, and then Glentoran and Crusaders back-to-back could be tough. Basically, if we get to February being in 6th or 5th still, we've got a good chance, based on who we're playing in the meantime, to still be in the top half. Anyway, right, we've confirmed the departure of Craig Dillon. He's just been moaning about wanting to leave. So we're going to sell him to Wraith Rovers for £16,000 as January starts. Obviously, that will mean we'll have to bring in another defender at some point as well. Looking around, well, I mean, look at some of the finances first. Wage budget is such that we are struggling and we haven't got much in way of the transfer budget to move it around. So we're basically, I'm looking at loans. Is kind of loans is where we are going to be looking for defenders. If I click on the right button, that would be good. Remove there. Let's have a look if there are. So there's Jacob Scott here at Glentoran. He's at St Pat's in Main Island. There's a few. In fact, I probably ought to just do this. That would help. There's a couple of good-looking defenders who we might be able to get on loan, but whether or not they want to come to us and/or they want to come to us for no money is another view. But we'll cover that obviously as we get in the second half of the season. January window's not open again for 9 days. Let's actually look at what's been happening in the season so far. It's been a little bit, if we just get rid of all of the cup competitions, because the one thing about Northern Ireland that I didn't realise... Oh, that's the wrong button again. There we go. The one thing in Northern Ireland I didn't realise is there's lots of games. It's a proper full-on season for a side that's semi-pro. So... it's quite tough. We did start out quite well. A dropped game against Dungannon, obviously, early on. But other than that, it was 5 victories, a draw, and a defeat in the first 7 games. That was really good. Then we hit a bit of a tough patch as we faced sides like Larne, Cliftonville, Coleraine, Linfield. Kind of, we got a little bit of a struggle going on. We're sort of back and forth to the point where now it's home games that we're doing well. In away games, we're struggling a little bit. But we're getting there. We are doing pretty good. One thing I did obviously want to note as well, goalkeeper, club captain, second choice goalkeeper now, Craig Magilton, is our penalty taker. Because he's got 10 penalty taking and no one else has got any good penalty taking. So he's our penalty taker. He's got a goal so far this season in the league. Conceded 20 in 8 games, but he's got a goal. So he's on the score sheet. Speaking of goals, it's Mercer who's leading the way with 15, Logue on 10. As predicted, the Strike partnership is doing pretty well in terms of goals, but not quite breaking through onto the list of top goal scorers in the league. And as you'd expect, kind of from where we are, and the sides above us all being very good, we're not on any of the player stats either. But it's been a good start to the season. Competition-wise, we're out in the quarterfinals of both cups that have already happened. And we're going to start in the first round against Bangor in the Irish Cup as well. But the Cups aren't what we're looking at here. We want to make sure we get in the top half in the league and potentially get some European football next time around. Still think that's a bit of a tough ask, given that there's a big old gap between the top 3 and where we are, particularly if Dungannon win their 2 games against us. And then they've got games in hand against Ballyclare and Loughgall as well. So they're going to basically be better than everyone else. It could quite easily get 9 points from those 3 games, which would put them, 2 points behind Linfield. So when you look at that, there's then 16 points between us and the top 3. So a long way to go yet to get any European football. But we'll keep plugging away. We'll get through this season, hopefully get a bit of money in as well and start rebuilding the side and moving forward and actually looking like we might get out of Northern Ireland anytime soon. Because honestly, compared to some of the seasons that we've been in before, this is feeling very much like we're in the English leagues with how many games there are. There's 38 league games and then there's 3 cup competitions. It's quite ridiculous compared to where we did in Malaysia, where we didn't even do 100 games across 3 seasons or something daft like that. We're going to be quickly doing that already. I mean, if we quickly look, how many have we already played in Northern Ireland? We're already up to 50, and we've literally just passed a year. So, tough. It's a good old slog, though. It's been quite fun, tough. Lots of good sides in Northern Ireland. Hopefully, though, we won't be here for too much longer and we can move on to our neighbours at the south. But we're going to finish this season off and hopefully get into the top half and potentially challenge for the European places. Let's see how we get on. Okay, we have come to the end of the first full season in Northern Ireland with Ballymena United, and let's have a look at how we've got on. It's been actually really quite promising. Quarterfinals in all 3 cup competitions, some more impressive than others. Knocked out by Linfield, Crusaders and Crusaders, but then importantly here in the Sports Direct Premiership, this is not the relegation battle playoff, this is the European Places playoff. So we've qualified for the Conference League, and not a massive upset. We finished 5th. Just a single point ahead of Crusaders, who we'll cover in a second. There's a little bit to note about them. But when we got into, and we'll go through the rest of the season as well shortly, but the semi-finals, luckily for us, Glentoran beat Cliftonville 1-0, which put them out. They were our main threat. And then in the semi-final, we beat Crusaders 4-2, and then another 4-2 victory against Glentoran, led by James Logue in his final game for the club, getting a hat-trick. He equalled our top goal scorer for the season of 24. But he's off to Shamrock, I believe, for next season. So he's going to the south, going down to the Republic of Ireland. But Mercer linked up nicely with him to get the opening scoring underway after 4 minutes. And then it went very, very quiet until we got a second, about half an hour in, or 26 minutes in. Nimic shot, rebounds, Logue there to pick up the rebound and get the goal. Devoy, our loanee, who we'll again mention properly, he got a goal from the spot. Obviously Magilton not in goal in this one, otherwise he probably would have taken the penalty. Doherty's ball over the top, made it 4 here. Logue rounding out his hat-trick. And we took our foot off the gas towards the end of the game. Last 15 minutes, Glentoran finally showed up, got 2 goals in quite quick succession inside about 10 minutes, but that was not to be for them. It gave us European football once again. We're back in the Conference League. I say I'm back in the Conference League. I don't think Ballymena have been in the Conference League for about 7 years after winning the Cup, but there we go. Comfortable victory. We were much the better side. James Logue got a hat-trick. Yeah, no, Shelbourne, sorry, not Shamrock, that he's going to in July. He didn't want to rejoin us, although he made his decision too early because now we've got European football. I'm sure he would have said yes, but he's off, and that will probably make me rethink the tactics for next season. I'm potentially gonna go with, if I can, always doesn't click properly here. There we go. I'm probably gonna drop to some. No, middle. Oh, this is the most frustrating part of Football Manager, getting the tactics screen to behave. There we go. That's probably what we're going to drop to for next season, but we'll cover that next season. Obviously, right, the squad. How have we got on? And obviously, it's a small squad, but 24 goals apiece for Mercer and Logue, which we kind of highlighted at the beginning of the season. They would be our big drivers forward for this season. 24 goals each, nearly 50 goals between them, and if you add the goalkeeper goals in here, it is over 50 goals between those 3 players. But obviously, as I mentioned, I believe in the last segment when we reviewed the first half of this season, there's a lot of games in Northern Ireland. You play 38 league games, and then there's 3 more cups, and next season there's going to be the Conference League as well, so it's going to be quite heavy in terms of fixtures. Best player, though, probably Zach Mercer with that 7.1 rating. Magilton played well when he was in the team, but obviously it's kind of boosted up because he got goals as well, and that will boost his rating as well during matches. But that's quite high for a goalkeeper, really. And Aaron Solvey Robertson off the bench as well. Got 16 goals in 15 starts, 13 on the bench. So he scored when he was given the opportunity to, and I think it's probably fair to say he kind of covered around a lot in the cup, so got 8 in the league and then multiple in all the cup competitions. But he's doing well still, 31-year-old Icelandic striker. He's not on a non-contract, is what I'm trying to say. So he'll be hanging around next season as well. As you can see, everyone apart from Chris Murray here, who is still exploring his options, and Logue, who is leaving us, has re-signed for next season already. This is the guy I mentioned as well on loan, Cyril Devoy. He's on loan from St Pat's Athletic. And does his contract end with us? Yeah, so he's still got another 5 months after his contract. As we may look to bring him in if he doesn't re-sign a new contract with his parent club next season, but we shall see. We might be in the market for another new defender. I believe that he was the only January transfer we made. We got rid of Sam McClure on a free to Glenavon as well, but that's kind of all you can really talk about there. Right, in terms of the league, when did we last jump in? It was around about this point. I can't remember exactly when, but it was before the Dungannon doubleheader, which is kind of the bit I want to talk about. We lost 5-3 here away. I mean, if it wasn't for that hat-trick, could we have got a point? Maybe. Well, obviously, if it wasn't for that hat-trick, we'd have won, but that's not the point. Major didn't get a penalty. And then, literally, the next league game, if I can remember where we are, we lost 5-4 at home. So we scored loads of goals. In fact, we nearly got 100 goals in this season. So we are definitely firing on all cylinders in the league. But we lost those two fixtures quite tightly, and then lost to Linfield as well, 4-1, which is unsurprising when you look at them. Obviously, they've won the league, so they are the best side in the nation. That was a bit of a dry spell. We came back a little bit, then had another bit of a rough patch here. But once we got into the Championship group, we kind of just about did enough. Got a handy victory over Cliftonville, which set us on our way nicely. Defeats against Linfield and Larne, and then this big key victory against Dungannon here, 2-1. Probably fair to say against the run of play, but that set us up nicely where we just needed to not lose to Crusaders on the final day, and we would gonna get 5th place, which would give us in a better position going into the playoffs, which ultimately it did. But yeah, 1-1 draw on the final day of the season. Late goals for both sides. Probably again against the run of play. Player of the match being the goalkeeper says all you need to say there. And we've covered the European places playoffs, winning both games 4-2. So I mentioned Crusaders. They sacked their manager towards the end of the regular season. I think it was like 31 games, something like that. And we applied for the role. I thought they would be a bigger side and had a better chance, basically, long term. Had a better starting point. But they decided to hire this guy who, if we look at his career history, if I click on the right button, where is it? This one. He got sacked at Glentoran for poor league position, literally, earlier this season. So why have they hired him and not me? That's what I want to know. But he's done nothing. He's won a couple of cups and then got sacked for not being very good. But they've hired him, and then we've shown them that he should have hired me because we beat them twice. Well, no, once in the last game of the season. Drew them in the last regular game of the season. But we got Europe, they didn't. So, essentially, is all I can say to that. Right, looking forward for next season, we're going to have a lot of the same players. We've got bugger all money. Hopefully the European money comes in and we can start, improving the facilities and getting that wage budget up a little bit, because we cannot kind of flesh out the squad as much as I want to because we haven't got the money to spend on players, because it's kind of a bit of a shoestring budget we're playing with here. So in terms of positions, some new defenders, probably a striker replacement here for Logue if we want to continue playing two up top. If not, definitely we need some more support because we've got Mercer and then Solvay Robertson is kind of it in terms of strikers. I guess Saladin Haddadi can kind of play there as well, but he's not that good. So yeah, we need a second choice striker, a bit more depth in midfield, potentially another centre back as well to replace Devoy, who's coming out. His loan deal's ending, but to be honest, it's a good season to finish 5th and get European football. I think we can build on that. We can definitely be challenging for the top 3 next season. Linfield look like they are a million miles away, honestly, if we look at the league table. They've got 128 goals in 38 appearances, 38 games, 100 points, 92 goal difference. Whereas we've scored 94, which is crackers, but we've conceded 92, which is just, that's like nearly as bad as all the teams down at the bottom. So there's a lot to work on in defence, is what I'm trying to say here. We need to basically get more depth across the park and get stronger in defence if we want to build on this for next season. Obviously, it's going to be shorter pre-season. We're going to be in Conference League qualifying round action in what will feel like seconds, but well, it will be on this video, but 2 months' time in game. So while we might as well just go and do that now and see how we fare for the new season in Northern Ireland and see if we can do anything in the Conference League and look towards winning the league title. Honestly, I'm feeling quietly confident for this season. I don't think we're going to get the league title because Linfield are just that one step further ahead of anywhere. But I'm confident we can get in the top 3 and get some more European football next season. Speaking of, we've been drawn against a Bosnian side whose name I will not attempt to butcher, but they're from Sarajevo, so they are our first challenge. Hopefully we'll get past them and move on through some other teams and maybe get to the league. We won't get to the league phase unless we get a really lucky draw. I mean, if you remember back in our Barla Town days, we got Wolves in the 4th qualifying round after a really good run, and we aren't going to beat them. So there you go. Transfer-wise, ignore some of the trialists who rejected coming to us. We've managed to get 2 signings. One is a youngish, I say youngish, he's probably quite par for the course for the rest of the side. Welsh defender Jack Griffiths. He comes on a free after leaving Airbus after nearly 10 seasons there. So, yep, he looks pretty handy though. Good tackling of 15, marking and heading pretty good as well. Jumping reach, he's 6'1", can jump 16, that's good. Generally speaking, looks like he could be potentially our best defender, really trying to strengthen the ranks in defence. And then Anthony John comes in midfield to kind of do the same sort of job. Because as we mentioned, we're losing a striker, so we're bringing in an extra midfielder to do this with a tactic. Basically, we've gone from here to here. So there we go. So he's going to come in midfield, partner Nimit potentially in the centre of the park, and give us a bit more strength in the middle of the park, I guess. Having 2 strikers with this formation is kind of leaving us a bit open to the counter. So that's kind of the idea there. And he comes in from Telford in England on a free transfer. He's from Trinidad and Tobago. Is that correct? Yes. What was it? Trinbagonian. Trinbagonian. There we go. That's apparently what people from Trinidad and Tobago are called. Good. He's got some lovely hair on him as well. But yeah, he comes in. He's a good addition to our midfield. We've still got plenty of people we want to sign, but as I mentioned, the problem is that wage budget, and we've got no room anywhere with anything else because we're going to have to bring, basically like we did last season. I'm not sure if I covered it last season, but basically racked all of the bonuses for competitions down to low to get a bit more funding in the transfer budget to shift that over to the wage budget to bring it up so we can actually sign some players. But obviously we can't do that right now. That'll come later in the month as we get near the beginning of the season. And we're probably going to have to get some loans in as well for some more coverage. This guy's currently on trial, but we don't have the financial muscle to sign him, so we probably won't. But he looks really good, so I'm a little bit annoyed. His tackling could be better actually at 11, but generally speaking, he looks quite handy to join our defence. But that's probably not going to happen, so we won't worry about it too much. We do have Zelznica, the Bosnian side we mentioned, in the first leg right now. So we'll do that, obviously, and then go through the rest of pre-season. And the first half of the season, as mentioned, it's going to be a long one, particularly if we do get a little bit further into the qualifying rounds of the Champions League. It's going to be a bit of a long season. We'll come back after 19 league games, which will probably be around about here at a guess, somewhere towards Christmas. That's usually the halfway point of the season. But we've got an easy game first time out in the league, recently promoted Carrick. It's kind of this spell here. We've got Dungannon, Crusaders, Coleraine, Linfield, Larne. If we get through that spell, basically if we get to October and we aren't really poor, we've got a good season on our hands because we're facing quite a few of the big sides in this first half of the first third of the season, if that makes sense. But we'll see how we get on. We'll obviously be back at halfway point and see how we're doing here, and it might be a new day because it's getting quite late and dark here as I'm recording this. But, you know, it's winter, so that happens. Right. First half of the season we'll be with you. Hopefully we'll do something in Europe and be a little bit more competitive in the league. A little bit more money from Europe will help as well. But we'll see how we get on. Okay, halfway point of the season and things are going pretty well. Obviously the league looks probably a little bit worse than it would. We've got 5 games in hand on Glentoran, but that's because we've got into the Conference League proper, into the league phase, and even made it to the knockout playoff round, which is like the round of 24, I think. Either way, that is why we have got 5 games in hand in the league. Linfield also through, but they went through into the top 8, so they're straight into the knockout rounds. They're straight into the last 16, but they have got 3 games in hand, so we've got 2 games in hand in them. We've got reasonably well in other cups as well. Got through to the League Cup final. And then we've got through the next round of the Irish Cup. But we'll get to all of that shortly. But first, we'll cover off the Conference League. And I think basically we need to do it justice and go through wherever the Conference League is here. Right. So in qualifying, we lost our opening game away to that side there, who we then beat 4-1, the Bosnian side. We beat 4-1 at the home leg. Zach Mercer getting a brace, Moran getting another. We got 2 goals in injury time, which basically guaranteed our progression. So that was a good 4-2 victory. Then we faced Sabail from Azerbaijan. I think we've played them before, maybe with Glasis or Bala, potentially. Anyway, we absolutely smashed them 8-2 on aggregate. Then we got a great, tough tie against Djurgårdens from Sweden. We beat them 4-3 in an absolute classic in the home leg. Definitely against the run of play, and that 95th minute winner was basically the icing on the cake of a great second half. We were 3-0 down at half time, came back with a vengeance and won 4-3 in the home leg. And then the away leg, we managed to draw 2-2 in front of nearly 17,000 fans, but we got 2 early goals, which gave us a 6-3 aggregate lead. They were pulled one back before half time and then got the equaliser on the night, but that was not enough. Then we finally got to the 4th qualifying round. Beat Danish side AGF 3-0 in the home leg. Again, we were playing really well at Windsor Park. Obviously, Windsor Park isn't our home ground, but it's in Belfast, and we did really well. 3-0 victory again in that one, and then away from home, it was a 4-1 defeat, but we won on penalties. So we lost the regular game 3-0. Then we got a penalty in extra time, which Zach Mercer converted. They went back up the other end and scored to make it 4-4 on aggregate, which took us to penalties, and which we just about snuck through 4-3 on penalties. Just about. They missed 4 of their 7. We scored 4. They scored 3 of their 7. We scored 4 of our 6. And we won on penalties, and that was enough. It was really, really poor performance away from home, but it was enough to get us into the groups. And in the groups, we lost to Debrecen 1-0. Then we absolutely had a classic with Sociedad 5-3 away from home. They were 5-0 up at half-time. We put on a sterling performance in the second half, but it was nowhere near enough. Mercer getting another brace. That was 5-3. Then things started to turn around. We held Schalke to just a 1-0 defeat, kind of helped by the fact they had a man sent off, but we only had 2 chances in that one. That one, again, was at Windsor Park. Then we came into our own. So Motherwell, we beat them 2-1. Cracking performance here, kind of against the run of play, but they went ahead in the second half. We'll put the goals on, and then what we did, obviously, we'll show you, but they went ahead here with his ball into the box. Pretty sloppy defending, cut back inside, goalkeeper nowhere to be found. We went down 1-0, but then we kind of turned that on, went up the other end on the counter-attack. Loads of men overlapping, in loads of men in the middle in the men. Habardi getting the first goal, and then from this free kick, lovely effort by Dunn to get the 2-1 victory on the night. And that was our first Conference League victory. 5-0 against Israeli side Hapoel Beersheva, which we smashed. We absolutely smashed them. They had loads and loads of chances. Neil Kay was an absolute rock between the posts, and we just scored every opportunity we had. 5-0 on that night, and then we faced Bodo Glimt in the final game. Victory would give us a knockout playoff berth, so we'd finish in the top 24, which we did. Own goal set things off, and McMenemy got a couple in the second half. They got a late consolation, and again, probably just about fair for the victory, but 3-1 put us into the playoffs. We finished 18th overall. Linfield, however, just snuck into the top 8 with their 4 victories. They beat Derry City, Guimarães. They beat Sociedad and Dynamo Minsk. The 2 defeats were against Rosenborg and Arb. We have done well, Northern Ireland, as a nation in the Conference League. 1 side in the top 8, 1 into the playoffs. Just about. We could have just snuck with a draw in one of our other games. We could have snuck into the top half and got a home tie in the second leg, but it doesn't matter. We'll figure out who we face. That comes at the end of January when we find out who we'll face in the playoffs. But there's loads of good sides in there. We could end up facing Crystal Palace, for example, who performed quite poorly, to be honest. But we have done really well. Linfield done slightly better. So that's Conference League. We've covered that in great detail. We'll also cover the league now because that's been an experience and a half. So throughout this great performance in the Conference League, the league season kicked off with, what's that, 4 victories in the, 5 victories in the league, then a draw against Linfield and Larne. We were unbeaten, basically unbeaten in the league all the way through till the end of December when fixture congestion towards Christmas. So we basically had we had 4 league games. We had Loughgall on the 21st, Glenoven on the 26th on Boxing Day, 28th we faced Warrenport, and then Glentoran finally got the best of us as we kind of just struggled to get through with that massive congestion of fixtures. But that was the first defeat of the season. We beat Carrick Rangers in the first game of this season as we're still trying to catch up, obviously, on results. So we've lost 1 game, drawn 5, won 13. If we didn't have more fixtures coming, so if we look at our competitions, we're still in 2 cups and the Conference League. There's a lot of games to play. I mean, if we get through the next round of the Conference League, there's going to be like nearly 70 games this season, which is just ridiculous. But without that, I'd be confident of getting up here with Dungannon and Linfield. But 3rd place is definitely the target. Linfield have obviously got a couple of games in hand. Dungannon are benefiting from the fact they're not in any deep into any European competition. Glentoran are just lucky to be ahead of us because we've played 4 games less. So if we manage... 5 games left. If we manage to win a couple of those, we'll definitely get past them and sort of be quite comfortable in 3rd place, I think. Looking at the I don't think there's any more challenge from the teams behind. Maybe Larne and Crusaders could get the other 2 sides get into the top 6. But I think we're pretty comfortable to get more European football next season. Finance-wise, it's great. 4 million in the bank. Have we... what else did I want to show you, actually, whilst we're here? Board requests. No. Board request history. Yeah, so got a new contract, increased the wage budget, and also got the youth facilities to be improved as well. We're going to continue trying to basically invest some of this 4 million back into the club. I think we'll probably try and get professional status at some point as well, but we'll cover that when we get there. Squad-wise, performances are... Well, sorry, in fact, did I mention James Quinn was coming back? Did I even mention... I'm not even sure. Basically, we got this guy in loan at the beginning of the transfer window. His contract with Shamrock ended in November, and then he's come back on loan at the beginning of January. He's got 1 goal since coming back, but he's got 10 for the season so far. But yes, he's back. He's more... got 2 goals in his first game back. Sorry. Let me have a look at his form. So he played the game against Carrick and got 2 goals there. So he's back. He's going to definitely help out. We've got loads of people who are struggling for fitness and need resting, and that's going to be a common theme throughout the season. Most goals scored so far is Zach Mercer on 21. You'd expect that to continue in the second half of the season, provided he can actually play games, because he's tired having to carry the load for most of the season. As we mentioned, top 3 in the league is the target. Conference League is better than anyone could have expected, and maybe we could pick up another cup. We've got Dungannon in the cup final for the league cup final. Probably going to struggle to do that one, but we shall see. Transfer-wise, we have got rid of Aaron Solvey Robertson. He's a club legend, but he's off to Throtter at the end of February. No other planned transfers. As mentioned, Quinn's come back on a free transfer. I kind of just want to get through the season. I know we could use some more depth. But with the idea that we'll be having more money and more wages available next season, and potentially going professional as well, I kind of just want to get through this season now, get another European berth, and then look to strengthen the squad over the summer to push towards the title, which is going to be tough because both Dungannon and Linfield are really good, but obviously we need to be professional to challenge them, so that's the plan, and we'll see how we get on for the second half of this season before looking too far ahead to next season. Right, let's go. It's been a long season, but we are finally at the end of it. Ballymena finishing 3rd, as we kind of, I think, predicted, both at the beginning of the season and definitely at the halfway point. 75 points, so a good 8 clear of Glentoran, but 13 back of Linfield and a further 5, so 18 back of Dungannon in the end. Obviously, the fixtures caught up with us, the congestion caught up with us in the end. If we look at the competitions, we lost in that playoff round of the knockouts to Rosenborg. We'll cover that one in the Conference League in a second. Got to the semi-final of the Irish Cup, lost in the final of the League Cup, and we were already out of the County Antrim Shield. But, right, we had a... Where did we come back? Here, this was it, yeah. So we had a good run, but then the games started catching up with us again, sort of as we got into January. 3 defeats throughout the league in January. We played Dungannon twice, so that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what we were facing to try and beat them for the title. Not really happening. And then we lost to Linfield as well at the beginning of February. Then we had that run of cup games, won in the Irish Cup second round with a second strength side. Then unfortunately lost to Rosenborg 2-1. The Irish League Cup final was a cracker, absolutely thrilling back and forth game, but we were always felt like we were on the back foot against Dungannon. Obviously a really good side. They've run off and won the league title quite comfortably. They took the lead from a penalty and then doubled their advantage inside sort of 15 minutes here. It kind of caught us on the break. We didn't really have much we could do about it, but we did come back. First half ended up with us winning 3-2, or leading, 3-2. Ball cut inside, Coulter, the youngster, getting the first goal of the game to bring it back to 2-1, and then we got them on the counter-attack here. Again, Coulter involved, this time setting up a lovely ball over the top to McCarthy, who cracked in a half volley to equalise. And then before the half-time break, we once again caught them a little bit. Coulter getting involved all of the first half, and Tudor Radu, who is our third choice striker now, got the third of the game to put us ahead as we went into the break, but they didn't stay down for long. Not long into the second half, Dungannon equalised. We then took the lead again, once again with a counter-attack. McMenemy involved this time, cuts back to Coulter, who shot, squeezes in at the near post to make it 4-3, but we couldn't hold on. The inevitable happened. Dungannon came back at us. Lovely ball into the back post, header, made it 4-4 before they snatched victory a couple of minutes later. Won the ball in defence, quickly went forward, ball through, and Allen got the chip over Kay to get the victory and deny us of a first trophy in Northern Ireland. I think it's the first trophy in Northern Ireland anyway. I don't think we've won it yet. Anyway, so we lost that one. Then we came back in the league to kind of mixed form to just about get over the line to finish into the top 6. Lost to Linfield in the Irish Cup semi-final, and then drew with them in the league. We did a lot of drawing in the Championship group. Basically, we did enough and our legs had completely gone. We beat Glentoran in the key game 4-2. That confirmed our third place. All the others were just draws, and we just snuck through to get as far as we could. Third place was what we just deserved. Looking at that performance, we never outside the top 3 throughout the whole season, so that's pretty good. Dungannon can not say that. They started down in 7th, and neither can Linfield. They dropped down to 5th, sort of halfway through the campaign, as they struggled to catch up with their games in hand like we did. But there we go, third place in the league, good run in the Conference League, well, very good run in the Conference League, good runs in the Cup. Financial wise, we've still got 4 million in the bank, and if we look at our board history, you can see we'd already covered the youth facilities there. We are going professional very, very soon. We're improving the training facilities as well in a couple of months, improved the youth recruitment, increased our junior coaching budget, and there we go, completed. We did complete the professional status now, so that's good. We've done that. Didn't want to increase the wage budget again, but the new budgets have come in, and it's now massive at 20k. Transfer budget of 2 million if we wanted to spend a load of money, which probably won't do, but we might spend some of it. Because the squad will need improving, and we definitely need more strength in depth, because after 65 games in this season, it was quite a challenge to keep up with the sides above us. But being professional now will definitely help. Looking at goal scorers, it was Zach Mercer who got 27, far and away the highest goal scorer. He kind of had a very sluggish second half of the season, though. I think he only got 6 or 7 since the turn of the year. James Quinn came back and got a total of, 18 across the season, across his loan spell and his return on a free transfer. So, yeah, he's pulled his weight as well. He was second highest scorer, just ahead of Murray. Best performer was Murray, though, and hopefully Well, we've kept him for another season, and we're going to try and hopefully keep on all of our best players and strengthen the side as we look to potentially challenge for the league title and get out of Northern Ireland, because we've been here a long time and there are so many games to play. We've played 139 games in just under 3 seasons, 880 days. We're nearing a longest time at the club. We're going to go for a 4th season now, which is our 3rd full season. And we've done half the season, obviously, when we joined. So that will be the longest. But it's getting longer. I was expecting things to get easier as we moved up, but it's not. It's getting harder. So, great. Right, we'll be back with the pre-season review as we go into Europe once again and hopefully push towards the league title. Pre-season in the books, and we are back with Ballymena in the Northern Irish Premiership. And it's season number 4, if you are following along. This is a long video. Let's have a look, because I feel like I'm pretty confident after the transfer window we have just had. We have spent some money and brought in quite a few players. So, without further ado, we'll just run through every single new signing we've made. I don't think we need to make any more after this point. Obviously, we are quite early in pre-season still. We're about to kick off the Conference League 2nd qualifying round. We're obviously joining a later round than we did last season. But we spent 100k, which is ridiculous, honestly. But there we go. We'll start off with new midfielder. Can play on the right wing and also in the centre of the park. Nicholas Arstad. Again, I think we've spent about 9k on this guy. From Norway, he joins us from Gjovik Linn, who are in like the 3rd or 4th tier of Norway. But anyway, he looks pretty good for the level. He's 22 as well, and he's already got loads of value compared to what we've spent on him. 6-foot midfielder, looks pretty good. We'll probably play him in the centre of the park rather on the right wing, but we've got plenty of new signings in that middle of midfield. Anyway, speaking of Michael Field from TNS in Wales. Obviously, we used to be in Wales. He is Welsh. I don't think he was around when we were last in Wales, because that was about 4 years ago. But another good-looking midfielder, talent-wise, not face-wise. He joins us to probably slip into our starting 11. Speaking of into the starting 11, English striker James Lockett from Woking. He joins us. He was someone we were looking at before we got Zach Mercer. But he was a little bit younger then, obviously, and then Mercer has decided to leave us, so he's gone. He didn't want to renew his contract, was unhappy, so we've got in a probably better player. His finishing could be a little bit higher, but everything else looks pretty handy. He'll be playing as an advanced forward as our new lead striker. Then we've signed a guy who we tried to sign last season, in Craig Neal, but we've signed him this time around as defensive cover, probably 3rd choice centre-back, but not anymore because he's injured for the next 7 months with a broken ankle, so excellent. Never mind. He was only free, so it's fine. Then, obviously, Lockett we spent £40,000 on. He was our biggest signing, by the way. Just mean to mention that. Then we brought in Scott Hunter from Scottish side Stirling. He's now new right back. Again, really strengthening the defence. Kieran Doherty now relegated to 2nd choice everywhere, basically. But Hunter looks really good. Again, 22. Plenty of time to grow as well. Then we've got Northern Irish midfielder. Again, strengthening the ranks of midfield. This guy's been at Larne and Linfield and even Bangor as well. 24-year-old central midfielder. He's probably not going to be dropping into the starting lineup, but he can also provide cover in the attacking midfield and even striker positions. Speaking of attacking midfield, we've got Croatian Slavko Luta has joined us as well. He is one of our star signings over the summer. Very happy with him. Comes in a free transfer from BSK Bielioburdo. Exactly. Still not finished. Curtis Kerr comes in, attacking midfielder, was at Glentoran, has been around a few other Irish sides. He's 24. Another midfielder, attacking midfielder this time. Then we've got Brandon Molan, defender. So he was one of the guys we brought in to cover the injury of the guy we already brought in. So he's kind of 2nd choice, 3rd choice kind of position at centre-back, but he's pretty handy as well. Definitely not a bad signing. Was at Cork City. Then we brought Jacob Scott back. He was on loan with us, I think. Was it last season he was on loan with us for a bit? Yeah, so he's come from Glentoran. He was on loan with us last season and they let him go. And he just basically provides some more cover in defence because We've already been stung by injuries already, and it's not even the start of the season. And then we've finally signed a backup striker as well to sort of challenge with James Quinn for that secondary striker role. Iranian Mehdi Mohammadzadeh. Exactly, Mehdi. He's going to be our second or third choice striker. Comes in, he's only 19 as well. I wanted to sign someone who was under 21 because we kind of have already reached the limit of our squad registration. You're going to get to register 20 players in Northern Ireland, but under 21s don't need to be registered. So we are full to the brim there. But this is the lineup we've got. This is the squad list we've got. Plenty of good new players to come in. Really, Kay and Murray are the only ones in the best sort of 12 players in the squad who are from last season. So, I'm quietly confident the move to professional, signing a load of new players, strengthening the squad, this nice big uptick in performance here should hopefully continue and we'll win the league. Because I really want to get out Northern Ireland. No offence to Northern Ireland, but I've had enough. There's long seasons, there's loads of cup competitions. We went far in the Conference League. Well, went to the league, the first knockout stages of the Conference League. So we played 65 games last season, which is ridiculous. Anyway, looking at the season preview, we're previewed to finish third. So we'll probably be here again for another season. I don't really want to go too far in the Conference League. I'd like to, go as far as we can. But if we get to a difficult match and we lose it, I will probably be a little bit secretly happy because it will mean less fixtures. It'll get rid of 8 fixtures that we would have otherwise had if we'd got through into the league stage and then potentially the knockout stage again. And again, with the cups, I'm not too fussed about them. We've kind of not really focused on any of the cup competitions. I just want to get somewhere in the league now. It's going to be tough again with Linfield and Dungannon and potentially Larne coming back, and who else was up there in the Glentoran are still quite good. Basically, there's a lot of good sides and 2 really, really strong sides who we're going to struggle to topple. But we shall see how we get on. That is the season preview. We're off to face Cluj, or University of Cluj, in the second qualifying round of the Conference League. And then we'll be back halfway through the season once again, as usual. And hopefully we'll have done something and got somewhere in the Premiership, because I'm ready to leave Northern Ireland now. I want to move on to our next nation, which I'm not even sure what it is at this point. It's been so long. I think it's Ireland we're moving to next, if we can. But we'll see. All right, let's go and play half the season, and I'll be back to tell you more. It's Christmas Day, and that means halfway point of the season once again. This is getting on a bit now. Right, we are currently second in the Sports Direct Premiership. Let's have a look. We're 4 points behind Linfield. We've only lost 1 game all season. That was to Linfield. They've lost a game as well to Glentoran, who are third. But we just beat them in the last game, 4-3. So that's putting a little bit of distance between ourselves and third. Dungannon having a poor season. Larne started out poorly, but have come back since hiring a new manager. They were down in 10th, I think, last time we played them. But we are currently second and have been there, albeit a slight dip there when we won. I say dip. It's like we won 5-0, so we went top for a couple of hours and then came back down to second. Linfield, obviously, are the other side. They've never actually dropped out of first place. I'm not quite sure how we can both be in first place at the same time. But there you go. Season has been going. That's not what I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. Season's been going well. We have won 14 of our 19 games. We are doing well again. Obviously, we did this last season and then tailed off. But we don't have the Conference League to challenge, to battle our way through. So we've not had the massive backlog of fixtures that are being replayed as we get through the second half of the season. So hopefully we'll not have the same sort of drop-off this time around. We are through to the League Cup and the County Antrim Shield finals. So we're doing 2 cups, which is obviously more fixtures, but they've generally been against lower opposition than the teams we've been facing in the Conference League. So we've been able to rotate our squad a little bit more. Speaking of the squad, James Lockett has finally come into a bit of form. Started out a little bit slow, but has now got 14 goals in his 24 appearances. Obviously, in the Conference League, he didn't get any because he was really sluggish to begin with. But he's found his feet and started doing really well. Speaking of him, let's have a quick look at his the guy he replaced who left us. He's now at Stoke. Zach Mercer went to Stoke in the Championship. Obviously, the Championship's not loaded at the moment, so it's kind of a bit hit and miss. But he's basically gone from Conference League with a Northern Irish side into the conference, the championship. I can't speak. Into the championship with Stoke. So he's landed on his feet quite well. Quinn's got 12 goals, but has been a little bit injured recently. He's come off the bench quite a lot. Slavko has got 11 as well, so he's been playing really well. In terms of best player, it's been Quinn. Even though he's done more appearances off the bench than in the starting 11, he has done really good when he's been playing, and obviously his wage, he's still on a part-time contract, so we need to renew that one as we get into the summer. Obviously a lot of players, in fact every single player who has a contract will need renewing at the end of the season, so I mean hopefully we're not going to be around for next season. I really hope we aren't. But so far so good. If we look through some of the fixtures, it's been a lot of victories, a few draws. We've not lost a game since Brighton beat us in the first leg of the Conference League. Obviously, that was back-to-back with a Linfield loss. Oh, sorry, I've not even mentioned Brighton, have I? So we beat Cluj in the second qualifying round, then beat Dynamo Batumi on aggregate, drawing at home, actually. And then we had a great challenge against Brighton. Took it to them, 3-2 away from home. We were, in fact, 2-0 up at half-time, but lost that one. And then when we hosted them at Windsor Park, it ended up being a 0-0 draw. So we couldn't quite squeeze through into the Conference League proper. But that's probably a blessing in disguise in terms of our Premiership hopes. Because obviously since getting knocked out of the Conference League, we've not lost a game. So had a bit of a dry spell at the end of October. I say dry, we drew 3 games in a row, but one of them was 4-4, another was 3-3. And the one in the middle there was Linfield, which we kind of really, really wish we'd have done more to get goals in that one. We were on top and leading, and then they equalised late on. It was a bit of a kick in the teeth because we were definitely the better side, deserved the victory. With that, we'd have gone up 2 points instead of gone down 1, so it would be 1 point in it at the top of the table. So there you go. But we can't live in the past. We've got to live in the future, and obviously we've got half the season left, and then obviously the last 5 games will be in the Championship group. But we've got a couple of opportunities to get some more points on. We've got Dungannon twice, Linfield to play as well. We've just obviously beat Glentoran, and we've got them to play once more. So of the top sides, we've got 4 games really that are key to our chances at winning the title. They'll be what we're focusing on, obviously trying to keep making sure we don't drop points in any of the other games. But generally speaking, recently at least, we've done pretty darn good in terms of beating lower opposition and getting past the sides who are in and around us. And looking at the league table once again, it's Linfield who are our main challenge. Dungannon have properly fallen off this season, gone off the boil completely. I'd be surprised if their manager doesn't get sacked unless they come towards the end of the season. Obviously, they've got 2 games in hand still, but it's a tough one for them to get back into the title fight. Linfield are definitely dominant. They've got a 51 plus goal difference. We've got 31. Still a lot to do there, but it's more of the same in Northern Ireland. We are getting closer, but I'm not quite sure this is going to be close enough this time round because it's just hard. Northern Ireland is quite difficult, is what I've come to make the decision of. We're now over 170 games at Ballymena. By the end of the season, I think, another 19 plus a couple more cup games. We're going to be in the 190s, so if we don't win this season, we'll have passed 200 games, which is obviously the most games in charge of a club. We've been here for over 1,000 days now as well. I'm getting quite familiar with Northern Ireland, but I want to get out of here and move on and continue the challenge of beating and completing Football Manager because it's slowing us down. It's a difficult league to get out of, apparently. Never mind. Right, we'll be back after this season's done, and hopefully, check the timestamp of the video. If this video is done in about 5 to 10 minutes, then we've won. But obviously I've not played it yet, so what do I know? Right, let's go. Okay then, it's finally happened. We finally won the league in Northern Ireland, and it has been a season and a half. Well, actually, no, it's been 3.5, nearly 4 seasons. But this season has been incredibly good. We have got the treble. We have won the league, which you can't see there, but we have done. Then we won the League Cup. We've won the County Antrim Shield. We got knocked out of the quarterfinals of the Irish Cup, but that doesn't matter. But we have won the league, finally. Finally won the league, and we did it in some sort of style as well. We only lost 1 game, and that was back in August. We went on a 41-game undefeated streak in all competitions, and it was just about enough to get us across the line. We only won the league by 5 points as Linfield, once again, pretty darn good. Lockett with the top scorer of 23 compared to Chris Brown from Linfield getting 42, which just shows you the gulf that we've been dealing with, but overcoming. So, as you will remember, about halfway we were second and it was tough. But we kept on winning and winning and winning. Got to the top by match day 26, which is obviously before the league split, and then held on. And even though we had a little bit of a wobble towards the end, if we look at the schedule, we had this spell here as we sort of skipped over from the main group into the championship group. We drew 3 games in a row, but Linfield were one of them, and we managed to build up a good enough buffer. And Linfield had a couple of wobbles as well as they got into here, so they lost to Glenavon, drew with us, and then drew on the last day to Coleraine as well. So they didn't have the most convincing championship group either. But it was enough. It was enough for us to win the title and finally get ourselves out of Northern Ireland. Which is not to say I've not enjoyed Northern Ireland, but it's been a fair old slog. They're long seasons. I mean, look. If we look here, goalkeepers played 51 games, and that's with an extra 5 from the second choice goalkeeper. That's 56 games compared to the 65 last season. It's been a lot of games to get through, a big struggle of a season. And it's often felt unsurmountable to get ahead of Linfield and Dungannon, honestly. But we have got there just about. I mean, I think if we'd have not won the league this time around, going into next season would have been even tougher, because guys like Lockett was exploring his options, Luther's exploring his options, Arsted's exploring his options. Someone else has already left, I'm sure of it, whereas Michael Field's already leaving. Someone else. Basically, a lot of our good players have decided to call it quits and go elsewhere and not renew their contracts. So it would have been tough to get another season where, if we just missed out here by a couple of points, to bounce back and do it once again. That being said, we don't need to. We need to quit now and leave Northern Ireland and start somewhere else. Lockett got 26 goals. He was the top goal scorer. But James Quinn, invaluable off the bench quite often. 21 appearances in the starting 11, 25 off the bench, 20 goals, 7.29 average rating. Him and Slavko definitely pulling their weight in the attacking midfield, keeping the side up there. I mean, we got 3 goals from our second choice goalkeeper as well, which is always fun from the penalty spot. But yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. We did sign this young Norwegian guy, Knut Olav Sinstelian, on a free. He's also leaving at the end of the season to join Viking, so he's literally coming for 6 months and going. That's another guy who didn't want to hang around. Everyone wanted really short contracts and didn't want to renew, so that's kind of telling for the position we were in if we were having to do another season. But he joined, 6 months, won a couple of trophies, left again. Well, he's not left yet, but he will be leaving soon. And Craig Neal came back from his 7-month injury and managed to do a couple of appearances towards the end of the season, but never really cemented himself in the squad. But other than that, the side played as you would have expected them from the first half of the season. We went on this. Just look how much green there is here. So the last defeat was to Linfield and then Brighton at the end of August, and then victories. Very few draws, to be honest. We went on some good runs of victories. This one here in particular in all competitions was pretty special. So we went from the middle of November all the way through until the middle of March before winning every game, basically. It was a great run, definitely worthy of the title. Obviously, it got a little bit tough towards the end of the season, but we managed to hold on. A good victory over Dungannon in the penultimate game. Drawing with Linfield when we could. We beat them, obviously, in the league run as well there in January. That was a key one. But basically, we did enough to get the title and win the league by 5 points. An incredible season, and definitely something I am happy with. We nearly touched the 200 game mark in Northern Ireland, but we will not do that, obviously. Just over 1,200 days in charge, which is a lot. Hopefully our next destination is not going to take us that long, but that is kind of where we're going to leave Northern Ireland. If we look now, if we go and have a look at available jobs, we can get the filter from Northern Ireland. In fact, we've already done it. So Latvia, Ireland and Iceland are the next 3 nations. There are currently no jobs, which is always fun. If we look here, we'll get them on this list as well and see if there's anyone. Dundalk, who I believe are not doing great in Ireland and not predicted to do great, so I prefer better than them. Same with Spartaks, honestly. Low end of the Latvian league. And then there's a few in Iceland who are stable, but potentially looking like they might be. And then similar sort of situation in Ireland as well. I don't really know where we're going to end up, but it's not going to be Northern Ireland, and hopefully it's not going to be Dundalk or Spartak. Hopefully another club comes along in the meantime that we can get ourselves hired by. But it's with great... No, I don't want to retire. With great regret that we have to resign immediately from Ballymena United. Got no intention of changing my mind, sorry. It's been fun. We've won the league. We've won a couple of cups as well. I think that takes us to... Well, we've just been on manager history. Is it 7 league titles? 7 league titles, 10 cups across the seasons so far. We're now in 2041. We're a long way into the game now. But there we go. Nation 7 ticked off the list. Next time around, we're either going to Iceland, Ireland, or Latvia. And we will get out of Europe after those 3 and head to the Commonwealth. So, there we go. Right, thanks a lot for watching. Remember to subscribe. It's been a long video, but I appreciate you making it this far. I will see you on the next one as we continue completing Football Manager. Check out these videos as well while you're here. And remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching.